A mother and her son Jack lived in a modest cottage. Their only treasure was Blanchette, a goat with a soft coat who offered them her nourishing milk every day. But one morning, despite the mother's tender care, Blanchette's udder remained dry without yielding a single drop. With a heavy heart, she called Jack and whispered, "My son, go to the market and sell our precious Blanchette, and above all, try to get a good price for her." Young Jack set off with sweet Blanchette trotting beside him. Suddenly, a strange man called out to him, "Where are you going with that pretty goat?" Jack explained that he was going to the market to sell it. "What a splendid creature," said the man with a mysterious smile. "I'll buy her." From his pocket, he drew 6 small, glittering bean seeds. Jack, astonished, shook his head, demanding money, not beans. The mysterious man grabbed his hand, placed the seeds in it, and said with a wink, "Take them before I change my mind. They're not just beans." Then he walked away, Blanchette trotting happily behind him. Jack's mother watched impatiently for his return at the edge of the road. When she saw him, she ran to meet him, her heart full of hope. "Did you sell Blanchette? Where's the money?" But when her eyes fell on the little seeds in Jack's hand, she was furious. The boy tried to reassure her, murmuring that these beans were magical, far more precious than they seemed. But his mother, furious, burst out, "You're such a ninny, Jack! They're just beans, like all the rest!" In a gesture of anger, she threw the seeds out of the window, watching them disappear into the night. That night, mother and son went to bed with empty stomachs and heavy hearts. The next morning, Jack was awakened by a strange light filtering through the window. As he approached, he discovered a marvel. The seeds had sprouted. In the silence of the night, the shoots had grown, stretching skywards, forming a majestic ladder of greenery that disappeared into the clouds. Amazed, Jack timidly tried to approach the green ladder, his heart pounding with excitement, and without hesitation he began to climb, drawn towards the unknown. Jack climbed and climbed, his hands clutching the giant stems until he broke through the veil of clouds. There, he discovered an immense building, as grandiose as it was mysterious, and opposite him, a gigantic ogre woman stood, imposing and benevolent. Jack greeted her politely and, with a sinking belly, dared to ask, "Could you give me some breakfast?" The giantess burst into a thunderous laugh. "You'd better run, kid! If you stay here, you'll end up on the plate! My husband is a ferocious ogre!" Jack started to retreat in panic, but the woman called out to him in a gentle voice, "Stay a while. You've still got time to eat before he comes back." She placed a generous golden slice of butter in front of him. Jack ate, savoring every bite. But just as he was finishing his meal, a dull rumble shook the earth. The giantess, her eyes filled with terror, cried out, "It's him! My husband has returned!" The giantess, in a panic, pointed to a large pot of flour next to the oven. "Quick, hide in there!" Without hesitation, Jack took refuge there, his heart beating wildly. The next moment, the ogre entered the kitchen, his huge silhouette shaking the room. He sniffed loudly, wrinkling his nose. "It smells like fresh flesh. Do I smell a child?" His wife gently shook her head reassuringly. "This is the roast lamb I've prepared for your feast." The ogre grunted in disappointment. "What a pity. I would have loved to have eaten a kid." The ogre devoured his meal with a voracious appetite. When he was satisfied, he left the room and returned with a goose, which he placed gently on his lap. He stroked it tenderly and whispered, "My beautiful goose, lay an egg for me." Immediately, the goose laid an egg glittering with pure gold. The ogre, satisfied, opened a large chest filled with golden eggs and, without waiting, began to count them, his eyes shining with greed. But fatigue overcame him, and soon he was fast asleep. Jack, hiding in his flower pot, carefully lifted the lid. The giantess had disappeared. Quietly, he slipped out of his hiding place and tiptoed over to the sleeping giant. With a swift movement, he seized the golden goose and fled without a sound, his heart pounding with fright. The ogre awoke, an icy foreboding running through his mind. Like a sixth sense, he realized that something had been stolen. His gaze searched, and emptiness answered. The goose had disappeared. Furious, the giant leapt to his feet, his eyes flashing. Seeing Jack flee with his treasure, he set off in pursuit. Without hesitation, the ogre grabbed the fragile green ladder and began to descend heavily. The giant ladder groaned under his weight, trembled, wobbled, but held firm. Meanwhile, Jack, quick and agile as a cat, descended the stems with disarming lightness, the ogre following, cautious but determined. When Jack finally reached the ground, the giant's massive feet had only just grazed the clouds. Without missing a beat, he entrusted the goose to his mother and ran to fetch an axe. With his heart pounding, he raised the tool and with one swift movement sliced through the ladder's legs. The green structure wavered, then toppled into the void, taking the ogre with it. A terrifying howl rolled across the sky, resounding like a thunderclap, followed by a detonation that shook the earth. Then suddenly, everything fell silent. Silence settled in, heavy and soothing. Jack and his mother's lives changed forever. Their misery vanished like a bad dream. Whenever they needed money, Jack would tenderly stroke the golden goose and whisper, "My beautiful goose, lay an egg for me." And without fail, the goose laid a golden egg as bright as the sun. The mother, with a smile on her face and a heart full of pride, kept repeating to herself, "What a clever son I'm lucky to have." Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please support our channel by liking, commenting, and sharing the video. And above all, subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos in the pipeline.